Hello, everybody. We are here today, May 2024, and we have the pleasure to have with us Alan Clay, that most of you know him. He is the international NCGR delegate from New Zealand. He was very nice to wake up very early today to talk with us. He's going to talk to us about Salacia. That is something that is very, very new for most of us. He will explain a lot about it, and he will see some chat that will be very interesting. He would like that you hold your questions to a certain time, and then he will ask you when is the time to answer the question. So by that time, you can open your microphone directly and ask him, or type it and he will read the chat box. Thank you for being here, Alan, and thank you everybody to be here. And of course, thank you for NCGR who is giving us this webinar. Thank you, Alan.
Lovely. Well, thank you, Monica. Beautiful. Let's jump straight in because I've had 17 people submit their charts as examples today, and we can't possibly get to that many, but we're going to try and get to as many as possible. The first 9, I think, I've slotted into the house interpretations later on, and so I'm going to sort of power through it, let's say, through the introductory phases. It's essentially chapter 2 of the book that we're going to look at to start with, and then we're going to look at the chapter on Salacia, or parts of it, and that includes the house interpretations. So let's just jump in. So many astrologers believe that new planets are discovered when we're ready to incorporate the new consciousness represented by that planet into our existing consciousness. We've noticed this with the discovery of Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto over the last 200 years. Now, with the discovery of 10 more outer planets, we're entering a period of rapid consciousness development. Our personal consciousness develops within the collective consciousness around us, and we see this mapped out in the personal planets in our chart. These are the planets out to Saturn that are visible to the naked eye, and they address facets of our personality that are important in living day to day. When we're at inner planet consciousness, everything that is important is our feelings, our ideas, our values, our agency, and the luck and material rewards that these bring us. You can't take it with you, right? And at this level, we tend not to be conscious of the action of the outer planets in our lives. The inner planets represent aspects of personality, and the outer planets represent aspects of consciousness. So as each new outer planet is discovered, it represents a new aspect of consciousness that is becoming available to us. Over the last 200 years, we've discovered 3 new planets. The discovery of Uranus brought us intuitive consciousness. The discovery of Pluto, the discovery of Neptune, spiritual consciousness, and the discovery of Pluto, psychological consciousness. Then, since the turn of the 21st century, we've discovered another 10 planets. The discovery of so many new outer planets at one time represents a feast of new consciousness that is now available to us. The enlightenment that until now was only available to select gurus and priests after years of devout work is now open to everyone. Because these outer planets talk of consciousness, how they manifest in our lives depends on our own current level of consciousness. Most people on the planet experience the outer planets as unconscious influences. At this level, these esoteric new energies are only perceived when they barge into our lives in a confrontational way, because we haven't been sensitive and adaptable in the lead-up. As we develop spiritually and we consciously onboard these new energies, they become guides into new territory, offering us special skills or challenges depending on the aspects in our chart. At this level, rather than unconscious influences, the outer planets become like a new superconscious. Let's look briefly at each of the planets beyond Saturn to put them in context. As we embark on the spiritual path to make a larger sense out of the experiences of our personal lives, we start activating our Uranian and Neptunian energies and bring them into our consciousness. As we do, we begin to realize that the "you can't take it with you" approach of the inner planets is actually a delusion. Uranus brings intuitive flashes into our personal planet consciousness and begins to connect us with the collective consciousness by breaking through our Saturnian defenses to allow new impulses and connections. So the discovery of Uranus enabled consciousness growth in our lives. We can look at Uranus as the higher octave of Mercury, because he takes Mercury's ideas, communications, and curiosity and networks them at a higher spiritual level. Neptune tunes us into the bigger picture and brings spiritual consciousness into our lives. He encourages us to search for a larger meaning for our personal experiences and teaches us about faith as a way of deepening consciousness. Neptune is traditionally considered to be the higher octave of Venus, where her values and aesthetics are expressed at a more spiritual level through the imagination and psychic opening of Neptune. Which brings us to the dwarf planet Pluto, who is the gatekeeper of the outer transpersonal planets. Here we must accept the limitations of our ego consciousness, let go of compulsions and unconscious constructs, and accept that change is the only constant. Pluto dissolves our ego, so we can open the way to the new higher consciousness that is becoming available to us. The discovery of Pluto enabled the psychological understanding of our lives. This produced the shadow paradigm, where the darkness in our souls is seen to be buried in our unconscious. The convenience of this is that we don't have to address it on a day-to-day basis. But we need to ditch Pluto's shadow paradigm to consciously enable him and these other new energies in our lives. As with all the outer planets, Pluto manifests differently depending on our level of consciousness. So what we have been calling his shadow is simply how he manifests when we are at the personal planet level of consciousness, so at an unconscious level. When we're on the spiritual path, Pluto gives us the adaptability and resilience to mediate the transition occurring in our lives in each moment. And at the spiritually evolved level, we can transmute loneliness and separation into love and long-term relationships, effecting a regeneration in our lives. Pluto now has two new brothers who share his orbit as well as his angle to the ecliptic. They also share his gravitational resonance with Neptune, as all three make 2 orbits of the Sun to every 3 of Neptune's. So we can see they're going to be Plutonian, these 2 new ones. Pluto's new brothers are, however, polar opposites. The first is the seeker consciousness of Ixion, who enables us to develop our authenticity following Pluto's action to dissolve our ego center. We are one with the universe, but still exist as an individual. And that dichotomy is bridged by being authentically ourselves in our contact with the divine. Ixion encourages us to be a passionate but lawless follower of our heart, or loins, depending on our consciousness level. Ixion is always encouraging us to ask the question, are the rules we're playing by the right ones? He urges us to push the boundaries and ask for forgiveness afterwards, rather than permission before. As we develop a spiritual approach, we enable our moral compass and learn to honor the bad girl or bad boy energy inside us and follow our heart. At this level, Ixion encourages us to be authentically ourselves while being sensitive to the unspoken agreements in our relationships, so we know how far we can go. just quickly through these ones, team. The second brother, Orcus, opens us to karmic consciousness. He teaches us to align with a spiritual creed and understand the karmic process of life. A creed expresses the shared beliefs of a religious community by summarizing the core tenets. These tenets are simple and globally applicable, providing guide rails to help us navigate life. Orcus is Pluto's straight-talking brother. He is a master of integrity at the highest level, but at the personal planet level, he can also encourage us to engage in double talk and deception. As we develop spiritually, however, Orcus gives us a self-sufficiency that will nourish us through the long and difficult work that we sometimes find necessary for personal evolution. At this level, as we deal with the shadow side of our lives, we become accountable for our deeds and actions. And at the highest level, we gain the shamanic ability to transmute shadow into light. Everything contains shadow, and therefore presents us with an opportunity to transmute shadow, producing a new, more spiritual whole. Come to our focus today. Next, we develop higher love consciousness and learn to evaluate our options with Salacia, who gives us the power to foresee opportunities and find the appropriate time to embrace them. She also gives us a self-protective quality that helps us weather both the real and the psychic storms in our lives. And she enables us to take a leap of faith, especially when we know we are going to be profoundly transformed by the experience. At the personal planet level, however, Salacia's liminal nature enables us to pick up on the sexual energy around us. We may have an erotic fascination or interest and engage in socially unacceptable, even illicit sexual activity. If this vital energy is blocked, we might feel out of control or incapable of changing our situation. However, as we develop spiritually, she enables us to remove the barriers to happiness in our lives. And we learn to approach life with an easy sense of humor that helps us get through the difficult times. And at the highest level, Salacia is about bringing true love into our lives and empowering us spiritually. Then we embrace mastery consciousness with Varuna. We learn to devote ourselves to something so deeply that over time we develop a sovereignty that is built on vast experience. We can look at Varuna as the higher octave of Saturn, where Saturn rules by control and through laws and restriction. Varuna has a natural sovereignty, but we have to claim this through action. Sovereignty is a dance between our intention and the collective psyche. We have to claim it, and at the same time, others have to agree to give it to us. Over time, through this dance, we gain support and notability for our work. Once we're on the spiritual path, Varuna teaches us to stand in the center of our lives and own the results of our dance with karma and dharma. And at the spiritually evolved level, we can develop an inner conscious authority as we learn to practice compassion in action. At this level, we are focused on the higher good, and we likely have a mastery of the flow of consciousness in our lives. Indeed, we may experience ongoing revelations and may become a sort of sage in some area. Next, we connect to Source and embrace unity consciousness with Haumea, who works at a spiritual level to nourish and replenish our lives. She connects us to the psychic unity that exists across space and time, with the oneness of our existence. She does this in each moment, simply reigniting in us the magic of being alive. Haumea encourages us to live in the present and to savor every moment of life, allowing us to appreciate the beauty of the world around us and within us. Come is the higher octave of Neptune, turning his psychic opening into real psychic connection. At the personal planet level, however, this can manifest as a lack of connection, a sort of spiritual alienation. However, as we develop spiritually, she gives us a direct link with the soul level, and as we deepen our connection to Source, we learn to facilitate a constant renewal in our own lives and in the lives of others. This level, we understand that the bountiful universe manifests through us, and we learn to enable this by leaving our ego at the door and trusting in the divine process. Then we develop our spirit consciousness with Kwawa, who in myth sings and dances the world into existence. Kwawa encourages us to find a practice to bring spirit into our physical lives. Song and dance are practices that call spirit into our lives, as are activities like meditation, yoga, bushwalks, and even sport. Anything can be a practice to enrich our lives with spirit. Kwawa is also the song and dance we tell ourselves about our lives. Our unique song and dance is a spirit story which underpins who we are. As we develop spiritually, we learn to embrace the spirit of discovery and to see life as a dynamic meditation where we can see opportunities in real time and act on them. At this level, Kwawa becomes the higher octave of Jupiter, lifting Jupiter's dumb luck into a smart luck through this meditation practice. At the spiritually evolved level, we see the song of dance of spirit in everything, and we understand that we are part of a rich chorus of spirit which underpins the physical world. This allows us to manifest spirit as required to bring order out of chaos and create harmony in our lives. A wonderful non-gendered energy that we're embracing. I do encourage you. Kwawa, very beautiful. Next, we develop systems consciousness and learn to innovate with Maki, who drives spirit into our lives, opening us to the new richness of sacred consciousness. Kwawa are a practice to bring spirit. Maki drives spirit in. He's a spiritual trickster, allowing us to play with the area of life signified by his position in our chart. He encourages us to see ourselves as an organic whole, as well as a member of a team. Through participation and understanding the teamwork process, we learn how to be sensitive enough to tune in to our fellow team members. This interaction gives us a worldview built from our experience and a view of our place in that world. As we develop spiritually, Maki calls spiritual nourishment into our lives and gives us a devotional focus that borders on genius. We can look at him as the higher octave of Uranus, lifting Uranus's intuition into a rich understanding. At this level, we're able to alchemically break down existing ideas into their component parts and put them back together in new configurations. We understand the context behind the ideas, which enables us to be playful in this process. And at the spiritually evolved level, we can see the big picture and integrate this with our personal devotional focus at such a deep level that everything becomes a valuable creative resource for our growth. Playfulness is a signature of a number of these new planets, embracing the divine through playfulness. Then we learn empathic consciousness with Gongo, who encourages us to participate in the marketplace of life. He enables us to feel inside other people and walk a mile in their shoes, so we may see the world through their eyes. In order to empathize with others, however, we have to get out of our own emotions. So at the personal planet level, he can encourage us to be emotionally self-indulgent and to lash out in an attempt to get our own way. At this level, we may feel overwhelmed by our emotions and unable to see a clear path forward through the morass of our personal feelings. As we develop a more spiritual approach, we begin to understand that we live in a symbiotic relationship with others, and that our divine work is to let go of the base emotions so that we can be sensitive to the emotional community in which we are nestled and open to the empathic support of others. At this level, we can pool our energy to achieve collective aims as we learn to channel our emotions and mold our psychic space to improve our productivity. And at the spiritually evolved level, we can nurture the emotional and the psychic bonds between us. Next, we come to diversity consciousness with Eris, as we learn to value everything and everyone for who they are. Eris encourages us to simultaneously look at ourselves in an uncompromising way and also to be inclusive in our worldview. We tend to fool ourselves and overlook our shortcomings just to get through each day. But Eris draws her strength from the unflinching nature of her understanding. It's all valuable to her, and will only be complete and embrace our full power when we accept our multifaceted nature. At the personal planet level, Eris encourages us to engage in discord and strife. So we learn to stop fooling ourselves or stop being fooled. As we adopt a more spiritual approach, we understand that our strife can be dealt with simply by accepting opposing points of view. At this level, she enables us to see clearly without preconceptions and helps us keep body and mind in harmony so that health and happiness prevails. At the highest level, she is a spirit guide, transmuting life into love and bringing sacred wisdom into our lives. Eris is the higher octave of Pluto, lifting his transformative energy into a fierce grace. This gives us a female power, which is gentle, but which rises to meet the needs of any challenge. Pluto is a male power. Eris is our new female power. Finally, we embrace the soul consciousness of Sedna, who is always trying to get us onto the spiritual path. She represents our soul's path of destiny. If we accept that our soul incarnates over a number of lifetimes and that it has a purpose to grow through these incarnations, then that soul purpose for this life is shown by the placement of Sedna. In that area of our lives, we transcend to a new holistic spiritual consciousness where we can allow love and harmony. Love and harmony have to be allowed. It's the only way it happens. As we develop spiritually, Sedna teaches us to keep our heart open in what we're increasingly realizing is a sort of hell that we're currently living through. We are still very early in our consciousness development as a species, and we have to keep our heart open for our own benefit and for everyone else's benefit in this difficult phase. To enable this, Sedna encourages us to nurture our sense of humour. Humour is a wonderful tool on the spiritual path because it allows us to release baggage and lighten our load on our soul's path of destiny. Salacia is about lightning, and out when we're right out at this level, it's where we need it. So I'm going to talk more about the Salacia in a moment. At this level, Sedna encourages us to beat our drum and sing our song to life. As we step up to do the soul-based work that we are here to do, we move through a fated transcendence to a more transpersonal consciousness. And that's Sedna consciousness. At the spiritually evolved level, we can embrace our spiritual destiny and joyfully do what our soul wants to do. At this level, she brings us transcendent peace and the ability to nurture abundance. When we're in tune with our soul needs, our material needs manifest in our lives in each moment. It may not be what we want, but it is what we need. And as we have the courage to embrace and nurture that, we open to the source of abundance in our lives. So she brings us transcendent crises, but if you open to it, it's actually the source of abundance in our lives. And that brings us through to our friend Salacia. And I'm just going to expand on her meaning, look at the first few pages of the Salacia chapter in the book. But this is a good moment to take any questions that might be percolating from that. I mean, I ran through very quickly, and it's probably sort of, they came up and they've disappeared. I'm thinking the questions, but if anything's still there for you about all of that, it's good. The interaction is good for everyone. So, and there's no right and wrong in the Kuiper belt. That's a Saturnian construct. So there are no right questions or wrong questions, and there are no right or wrong answers. It's just an interactive experience which helps us learn. So just pausing for that, but I'm not seeing any come in or hearing any come in. Just come off mute and ask a question if you want to. Anyone? No? Moving on. There'll be later time for questions. All right, so the higher love...
Sorry, Alan, there is one question from Stacy.
Good, thank you.
She's asking the symbols of Mars and Venus and the shell, are they relevant?
Are they relevant? Yes. So I'm going to talk about, I've talked a bit about higher octaves. And in modern astrology, with the development of the 3 outer planets that we've been working with for the last 200 years, we have this higher octave. When they were first discovered, people started thinking of them as Uranus is a higher octave of Mercury, Neptune is a higher octave of Venus, and Pluto is a higher octave of Mars. And a higher octave is a personal planet energy expressed at a more spiritual level. And I suggest that Salacia is the higher octave of Venus and Mars combined. And this is a radical idea because no one's suggested ever before that you can have a higher octave of 2 planets combined. But what we're trying to do is just get a sense of the energy of the higher planet, the more spiritual planet. And as we go out from Saturn, we become more and more spiritual. That's how it works. Yes, so I suggest that there's something in there interplay. What is Mars, Venus together? It's, it's relationship, it's sexual relationships, isn't it? It's that interactive relationship experience. And Salacia is all about sexual relationship at the unconscious level.
Okay.
And psychic sort of relationship, psychic merging with others at the more spiritual level. Yes. Sorry.
Yes, and we have 2 more questions that I think they are kind of related. One say, how do we locate this in our chart? And if solar fire have access to displacement in one chart? Yes.
Solar fire, you can find a placement, or is it Astro Gold, the solar fire for Mac? They both have it. Or you can go to astro.com and work it out there. You just, you can do it as a guest, or you set up an account, it's free. We do a lot of our work at astro.com. So Astro frequently has tables but I don't think they do have, of ephemeris tables for each of the planet placements, but I don't think they do have it for Salacia. So you have to just create the chart and go to the extended selection chart and then put in these new planets. And if you don't know how to do that, get the book, and it explains in Appendix 1 of the book how to do it, or any of the books I've put out in the last wee while have that Appendix 1. So
thank you.
Good question. Thank you so much for the question.
Yeah, we have 2 more questions now. Stephen asked, Was there a study or research team analyzing these dwarf planets to clarify their interpretations?
Say again, I didn't quite understand.
Was there a study research team analyzing these dwarf planets to clarify these interpretations?
Yes, I mean, essentially, I run something called the Dwarf Planet University. So I've done some research for some years, and I've run my own classes. And then 4 years ago, I set up this Dwarf Planet University. We've now got sort of, I think, 150 students across our courses at the moment. There's a lot of interest, and a lot of them are in the community program where they just watch on demand. They're not actually doing the course structure where we do assignments and so on like that. But we do have, I think 70 of them are on the course structure, another 15 graduates, they come to the graduate gathering. And so on the course structure, what we do is we are researching these planets on the Salacia course. There is one starting in about 4 weeks. It's a 6-week course. So in the first 2 weeks, we research the house placement, and people write an assignment on there. I do a webinar, essentially the house interpretations that you're going to see in a few moments. And then you do an assignment, sort of, what can I relate to that, and how do I see it? And you post it on a blog, and there's interaction and so on, and then we do it for the aspects and for the transits. And as you're going through that, you see how each of the planets is kind of manifests similarly and yet diversely in each of our charts. And we need to have that sort of research to see the diverse nature of the manifestation, just like the other outer planets. Neptune and Uranus and Pluto. We know they manifest diversely, but similarly in our charts. And so, yes, that's the research we're doing. It's ongoing research, so we're just starting it. It's ongoing.
Okay, I think we have 2 more questions, and then we should start with Salacia, because they are related to Salacia. Kelly asks, what do you make of the conjunction of Ixion and Quar?
Ixion and Quawa. This is a generational conjunction that actually many people have. It's been happening over, I think, 40 years or something like that. It's quite a long one. It's coming together and apart. So it's been sort of a whole process. And so that's an important dance. Those generations, that generation, very important in moving us into this new evolutionary phase that we're in. Ixion is about not following the rules, doing it my way, but I have to fit in with other people at the higher level. I learn, and if I don't learn that, then I'm locked up and punished. And so I do learn that probably. And Quara is about opening to spirit and finding a practice to do that. Essentially, we're trying to live on the planet in a new way, where we can be with spirit in each moment that we're doing our lives. And that's essentially what that Ixion Quawa conjunction is. So those people with that conjunction are learning to do that, and helping everyone else learn to do that.
Thank you, Aran. The last question, Luis asked, what planets is Sedna the hierarchy of? So
Sedna, I go Moon, Ceres, Sedna. So Ceres is a new planet, newly called a planet, was an asteroid, but is a planet, and there's a planet just outside Mars. And so also encompasses that Venus-Mars energy, Venus-Mars. As you go out, they each encompass the ones inside. And so that's why Saturn encompasses all those inner ones. Yeah. And so Ceres is about the give and take of love that keeps us alive, the nurturing. That's what we call that, nurturing, actually. So yes,
okay.
Moon. Yeah, lovely.
Thank
Ceres.
you. We'll continue with your talk. Thank you.
Lovely. Good questions, guys. Important. So there we go. So the higher love consciousness of Salacia gives us a deep sensitivity and a genuine love of life and humanity. This love enables us to weather both the material as well as the psychic storms in our lives, so she helps us to handle deeply difficult and troubling matters more easily and gives us the capacity to bring something new into the world. Salacia gives us the power to foresee opportunities, to evaluate them, and find the appropriate time to embrace them, especially when the commitment feels risky and we know we're going to be profoundly transformed by the experience. She enables us to take the leap of faith required in this transformation because we know in our heart it is right for us. Everything is a process for Salacia. Processes are connected by the development that occurs along the way. Each part of the process prepares for the next part. So when we are in tune with where we are in our process, we know exactly what to do next. In any process, there are key moments where our interaction can materially affect the outcome. We know that if we make our move too early or too late, it won't be as effective. Choosing the moment is more about allowing the flow of moments and seizing the opportunity when it arises. It's the Salacia approach. We have to be patient, yet ready to act, and we will know in our heart when it is the right time. Salacia is all about intimate relationships, and she can give us animal magnetism. At the highest level, this can bring true love into our lives. However, at the personal planet level, this is more likely to be expressed through an erotic fascination or interest, or we could indulge in socially unacceptable, maybe even illicit, sexual activity. This level, we might feel that we are not in control or able to change a situation. We might feel so desensitized by the experiences in our lives that we have an inability to feel pleasure. We could also be relationship phobic, certain that we will be unable to find the right person and unwilling to make the compromises to make it work if we do. Or we might develop a practice of hiding just at the right time to avoid commitment or confrontation. At this ego-centered level, we have a natural cunning which enables us to survive by being smart with our words. We might get involved in indiscreet talk and be unable to keep a secret. We might be prone to exaggeration or the distortion of facts and visions, attempting to use them as a shield to keep us safe. We could also project our issues unconsciously onto others, playing them out in the real world. We might find that others are projecting their issues onto us. As a result, we might feel attacked by our lives and have to be careful of turning to alcohol to handle this overload, because if we do, we're likely to become dependent on it. As we develop spiritually, however, she makes us want to be better than we would otherwise be, and we may well experience a religious awakening. We could also be drawn to psychic phenomena such as hypnosis, telepathy, near-death experiences, synchronicity, or apparitional experiences. This level, we are able to remove the barriers to happiness in our lives, and we learn to approach life with an easy sense of humour and wit that helps us get through the difficult times. Humour enables us to let go of shadow by being light-hearted. We learn not to take ourselves or others so seriously, and this lightness enables a tension release which both protects us and assists our growth. Timing is everything in comedy, but also in Salacia's approach to life. Timing for what? In the case of comedy, it's time for the audience to be ready for the next gag or line. But similarly, in any other area, it's timing for the other people involved to be ready for the initiative we propose. At this spiritual level, we can sense the best time for each step of the process in which we are involved. At the spiritually evolved level, our sensitivity can open us to psychic perceptions. This level, we have the self-awareness to work with the unseen and take the leaps of faith required in our growth. Enthusiasm and emotional power are our hidden talents, and we may have a personal interface with the supernatural. At this top level, Salacia is about bringing true love into our lives and empowering us spiritually. True love sustains us through its presence and constancy, giving us a tenacity and resourcefulness as we meet the challenges of each moment. At this level, she enables us to do work which will appeal to everyone and be popular, even if it is confrontational. Salacia brings us to those moments where we can see the change that we are destined to be. And if we have the faith in our heart that it is the right move, this gives us the courage to leap into each transformative commitment. We can do this because we know in our heart it is right for us and the outcome is what we want. All right, let's look at Salacia in the houses. Now, just, you all know this, I'm sure, but just to make it clear. Your birth chart is divided into 12 houses, which represent different areas of your life, such as home or relationships. The house focus that the ethereal outer planet entities, so we can more clearly see them in our daily lives. Bear in mind that these new consciousness energies manifest in our lives differently, depending on our current level of consciousness. And you will find that Salacia has been interpreted here in each house differently for those at the personal planet level of consciousness, which we'll call the unconscious level, or for those on the spiritual path and those at the spiritually evolved level. We're all working at all levels, and we are likely to see ourselves reflected in the interpretations at each level to some degree. The aim is to encounter the higher manifestations of each planet in our lives, which we do by developing our spiritual perspective. With Salacia in the first house of self, we have an inherent sense of timing and a capacity to bring something new into the world. We have a strong drive to achieve our greatest potential and find true love, understanding that we will be profoundly transformed by this experience. At the unconscious level, however, we may be too soft-hearted or mild-mannered to achieve this. We could be intimate with the wrong people, not understanding who our enemies are or what their motivations are. This level, we could also be overly cautious of commitment and too hesitant in our interactions. Or we could be relationship phobic, avoiding commitment. Or we may have an extremely erotic fascination or interest, which works against the intimacy and the love that we desire. Our early conditioning may determine these tendencies. As we get on a spiritual path, however, we can develop the sensitivity, appreciation, and gentleness to uncover our genuine love of life and humanity. We have to love life and humanity and ourselves before we can love somebody else. At this level, we can deeply handle difficult and troubling matters more easily, and we may experience a spiritual awakening. Like British anthropologist and UN Messenger of Peace, Jane Goodall, who is best known for her 45-year study of social and family interactions of wild chimpanzees in Gombe Stream National Park in Tanzania. She frequently speaks about her spiritual connection to nature and the interconnectedness of all living beings. Salacia in the first. She emphasizes the importance of respecting and conserving the natural world and the need for ethical treatment of animals. At the spiritually evolved level, our sensitivity can open us to psychic perceptions and also give us a self-protective quality that helps us weather the physical and psychic storms. This level, we have the self-awareness to work with the unseen and take leaps of faith when required. like the American Christian mystic Edgar Cayce, the father of modern holistic medicine, whose work grew by word of mouth. He gave over 30,000 psychic readings during his lifetime, giving accurate medical diagnoses and healing recommendations. He was known as the sleeping prophet because he put himself into a trance to receive these readings. Salacia in the first at the highest level. Throughout his life, he did not capitalize financially or otherwise on his gifts. The readings never offered a set of beliefs or religion to be embraced, but instead focused on the idea that every person should test the principles presented by his or her own life. All right, I said we had house people. Some of the examples, people have put forward their charts as examples. We've had 17. I've had 17 people come in and do that. Wonderful. Thank you so much because it helps everyone. We can't get to 17. Well, maybe we can. We'll see how we go. But I've put the first 9 or so who've come in into the houses. They were the ones who were in, and the other ones are repeated houses. If we have the time, we'll get to you guys. But I've put at least 1 in each of the house interpretations. There's nothing for number 1, and there's nothing for number 2. So I'm just letting you know our first person will be in house 3. With the charts. All right, with Salacia in the second house, we have the patience and the negotiating skills to find the perfect opportunity to achieve success. We have an easy sense of humor and wit that helps us get through difficult times and may bring us true love. At the unconscious level, however, we might have a tendency to hide in order to avoid commitment or confrontation. We might have an inability to feel pleasure and could be drawn to socially unacceptable, perhaps illicit sexual activity to get our kicks. Feelings of not being valued might manifest as drinking issues or a need to address alcoholism. When we're on the spiritual path, however, Salacia's sensitivity can open us to psychic perceptions. This level, we will have a talent for timing and can take the leaps of faith required for our material growth. Like Canadian-born actor and stand-up comedian Jim Carrey, who is an outspoken advocate of the law of attraction. That's a Salacia law. In an interview, he revealed that as a struggling actor, he would use visualization techniques to get work. That's Salacia at a higher level, visualization, yeah? He also stated that he visualized a $10 million check given to him for acting services rendered, placed the check in his pocket, and 7 years later received a $10 million check for his role in Dumb and Dumber. Salacia in the second house. At the spiritually evolved level, we become determined and resourceful. At this level, enthusiasm and emotional power are our hidden talents, and we may be able to interface with the supernatural. Like American theosophist, esoteric astrologer and author Alice Bailey, who founded the Arcane School. She coined the term New Age, so the start of her school in 1923 can be considered the birth of the New Age movement. When she was 39, she met a spirit guide who identified himself as a Tibetan master called Dwal Kul, and she wrote a series of ageless wisdom books, which she described as his teachings. Her writing on esoteric astrology deals with the evolution of soul consciousness and the obstacles to that evolution. That was Salacia in the second, I just repeat. All right, so here we've come to Salacia in the third house. Let's see, with Salacia in the third house, if you've submitted your chart and you know you've got Salacia in the third house, we're going to come to you in a moment. And so pay attention. Now I'm going to ask, do you relate to this? Each person with your chart, I'm going to say, do you relate to that interpretation of the third house? That's the first assignment that we do in the courses at the university. And you're welcome to say, no, I don't relate to any of it. I really can't. I can't see myself there at all. That's great, because, you know, it's I won't go into that whole story, but this is the beginning, and we're just seeing the beginnings of these interpretations. So please just give us your feedback. What do you think? With Salacia in the third house, we will be gracious and sociable and have a genuine love of life and humanity. With this placement, we have a natural intelligence and mental subtlety and are able to use cunning and adaptability to keep ourselves safe. If we work creatively with communication, we may be stating truths in an inoffensive way, using humour, or producing stream of consciousness or emotionally charged writing. At the unconscious level, however, we may be prone to exaggeration or distortion of facts and visions rather than truths. We could also find ourselves caught in thinking patterns that cause us to project our fears onto others. And we have to be careful of turning to alcohol for support to handle the overload of life as it assaults us, because we're likely to become dependent and overindulge. We're just too sensitive. Alcohol doesn't really help. In the extreme, we see this in British musician and punk rocker Sid Vicious, the bass guitarist with the Sex Pistols. He couldn't play bass at all, but he sang and presented the desired image of angry angst. He and his girlfriend were heavily into drugs, and he stabbed her to death during one of their sessions. He was charged with her murder, but died of a heroin overdose before the case went to trial. So I don't put in a lot of the unconscious level case studies because, you know, they're pretty heavy. And so, but bear in mind, these are outer planets, they're like Pluto. And so that's why we're trying to get onto the spiritual path. And when we're on the spiritual path, Salacia gives us a self-protective quality that helps us to weather the physical and the psychic storms we encounter. Yeah. At this level, we're able to remove the barriers to happiness in our lives. We're putting the barriers there. We can remove them. And our ideas and communication may gain an almost universal appeal. Like New Zealand singer Lorde, who is known for her unconventional musical styles and introspective songwriting. She self-released her first single, Royals, as a free download, and it became an international chart topper. That's the Salacia appeal. Her latest album, Solar Power, features her in semi-nude album art. Salacia in the third house. It's my butt kind of from below, and I'm in a bikini, so it's a little hardcore, but it was so joyful to me. It felt innocent and playful and a little bit feral and sexy. Salacia in the third house on the spiritual path, I'm going to suggest. And at the spiritually evolved level, Salacia can give us the power to foresee opportunities, evaluate them, and find the appropriate time to embrace them. At this level, our work will be popular and appealing, and her sensitivity can open us to psychic perceptions and higher love consciousness. Like British psychic healer Stephen Turoff, who offers psychic healing sessions to people seeking balance and well-being. He uses aura photography to capture their electromagnetic field, providing a visual representation of their energetic imbalances, so he can provide appropriate healing. His approach involves channeling healing energies and directing them towards his clients to restore their physical, emotional, and spiritual health. Some clients claim to have experienced psychic perceptions or heightened states of consciousness during or after their sessions. Heidi, beautiful. Are you here with us, Heidi? You have to come off mute, and I'm only going to talk about the chart if you are here with us. So, because
There's a Heidi here, but I'm not sure it's here.
Are you here, Heidi?
Oh, yes, I'm here.
Beautiful. Good on you. And thank you for putting your chart forward. And we need to talk about it to sort of, I can't just interpret to the recording. That's why I have that thing. Lovely. So we're finding your Salacia here in your third house, and your Mercury is right on the cusp of your third, and that's a conjunction, obviously. You know, with spiritual people, I look at 6 degrees orb in terms of conjunctions, just for reference. And so very emphasized third house in that case, because Mercury, obviously, Mercury's house. Tell us, did you relate to anything in that house interpretation? This is, and there's no right and wrong answers in there.
Yes and no.
Yeah, good. It's a good answer.
That doesn't answer your question.
Well, it does. It does, exactly. So give us the yes parts to start with, and then give us the no parts. So,
Well, I do therapy, which is all past life, which is all like in deep meditation, and you ask questions and you talk. So then it's like it's a talking kind of a And whenever I do astrology, it's talking, but it's like connecting, or that's how I would see that Salacia would be in the third house for me.
Totally. No, I totally agree with you. And just for you and everyone else's sort of understanding, I'd sort of relate what you're talking about to the opposition here. You've got Orcus opposite your Mercury here. Orcus conjunct the moon. Orcus transmuting shadow into light. You know, taking stuff that's stuck inside us, which sounds like what you're doing with the therapy, and releasing it. And so their opposition with Mercury, and you're doing it through talking, opposition with Mercury. And the Salacia, I suggest, conjunct your Mercury there, enables you to tune into the person you're working with on a kind of a psychic level. It's not sort of it's the psychic sort of you kind of understand them. You kind of just can pick up on stuff with the Salacia there, conjunct your Mercury. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's the intimacy with somebody else. It's not like sexual or anything like that.
No, that's right. But it is an intimacy. Absolutely right. Yes.
It's a mental intimacy.
The psychic intimacy, I'd say. Yeah, absolutely. And that's it. And you know, at the unconscious level, people they have that sort of desire and sense of intimacy, and the sexual area is where they find it. So that's just, as we evolve, we can do it. And you've got a finger of fate. I'll just point out here. What are we looking at to your Salacia? And that looks like it's from Uranus and Juno there. So sort of the partnership sort of that I think is going on. And do you work in a partnership? Can I ask?
No.
No. So I think it's the partnership when you're working with people, because I mean, it is a partnership you're kind of forming with them, I'm going to suggest. And that intimacy here, there's also a sort of a partnership. The more you can sort of partner with them, probably the better you can work with them, because there's the 8th house that we're talking about up here in terms of all of that.
Yeah, and I'm a death doula and a registered nurse, and I take care of people who are actively dying. And I go to the other side also and come back.
Awesome. Yes, I think that's all the opposition with Orcus there, and Orcus conjunct your moon. You're able to just to deal with, to go there happily, sort of. You know, it's a comfort zone. You can create a comfort zone and let people all do it. Go there happily. It's normally there's so much fear. Beautiful. Good on you. Yeah. I'm going to have to move on. Lovely working with you.
Thank you.
Yeah, so beautiful. Thank you for putting yourself forward. 4th house. Lovely. I think we're doing really well with timing. With Salacia in the 4th house, we're likely to have close family relationships and a graceful and optimistic attitude to life. With this placement, we're able to handle deeply difficult and troubling personal matters and use these as transformative experiences. At the unconscious level, however, we might feel that we're unable to change a situation in our home or that something there is unsatisfactory. Or we could feel out of control in some way and so struggle to feel safe in our own home. At this level, the privacy of our home may also increase the draw of socially unacceptable sexual activity. As we develop a more spiritual approach, however, we embrace her urge to become better than we were before, and we make the sacred space to do this in our lives. At this level, we're able to clear the karmic baggage we brought with us and work with the projections of others to mediate and facilitate our impact in society. Like Scottish singer-songwriter and political activist Annie Lennox, who achieved international success with the music duo the Eurythmics. Appearing in an early music video in a man's suit, she developed a powerful androgynous look and became a gay icon. In a later interview, she said, "When you make a statement in your own way, people identify with certain things and they also project their own ideas onto you. And so I ended up with that sort of gender bender label, which really wasn't what I was saying. But I had no objection to it. I thought it was kind of interesting that I was claimed by gay people as one of their own." I'm going to suggest this is Salacia in the fourth house. Yeah? She's claimed by, she's got that intimate relationship with them. And at the spiritually evolved level, we have a genuine love of life and humanity, born of an understanding both of our personal roots and our present needs and desires. This level, we learn to ground divine wisdom through surrender to a higher love consciousness. Like Dutch Indonesian spiritual leader Pak Suba, who founded Subud, a form of Islamic mysticism in which the supplicant is initiated by means of a meditative communal submission to divine understanding. This can happen through silent meditation, through dancing and movement, through speaking in tongues, or whatever method of communion involving surrender to the divine that the applicant wishes to employ. Bang. Look, we've got two people here. We've got Diane Gregory and Brooke Rudolph. Do I have either or both of them with us? And we've got two because you both came in early.
I'm here, Diane.
Diane, beautiful. Lovely, Diane. Thank you. And so, Brooke, we'll come to you if you're here as well in a moment. And so, I'm finding your Salacia. Here we go, in the fourth house. Yeah. So, tell us, Diane, we're just over to you to start with. Did you relate to anything in that interpretation that we just? And it's good to say no. And
well, one thing that struck me was the first thing you said about close familial relations. And it's interesting because they're close, but they're bumpy.
Yeah, bumpy. Yes. Yeah. So that's all pushing you, I think, to get to the higher level of Salacia. Well, that it's kind of a lot of interaction. Let's call it bumpy, but that bumpiness is kind of a deep interaction that you're doing there with your family, and that deeper interaction at a spiritual level, on a soul level. And why has your soul created the opportunity for that deep interaction with your family? It's because your soul wants you want to grow to the higher level of Salacia, where you do have that close, but without the bumps, sort of thing.
That would be lovely.
But we also have to realize it's a higher octave of the Venus and Mars. And Dane Rudger, in the back of my book, I've got an appendix about the planets, the outer planets as higher octaves. And Dane Rudger reminds us that the higher octaves, he didn't develop the higher octaves, but he reminded us that the higher octaves act on the lower octaves to repolarize them. So Salacia is acting on your Venus-Mars interaction in your life to repolarize it and lift it to a more spiritual level. So I just...
Well, one thing that's interesting is my father died at 100 in November. And and since then, I have actually been feeling sort of more sexual.
Yes, right.
So,
Beautiful.
so that's
Thank
kind
you
of
for, yeah,
odd.
yeah. It's odd. It's definitely odd, but beautiful, totally beautiful. And I think that indicates that what was your relationship with your father like? I mean, he lived to a beautiful old age. I mean,
Well, and that was one of the bumpy relationships. I mean,
yeah.
he was emotionally unavailable.
Yes, right.
But I
That's it.
spent a week with him every month. So, and I talked to him every day.
Yes, yes, no, beautiful. So very close, intimate relationship.
Right.
But bumpy sort of thing.
That's right, but bumpy.
Because he wasn't, yes, available in that way.
Right.
Yes, yes, and I do, you know, I just repeat what I said before, that you know, that's teaching you to try and connect with him, you know, as much as it's possible. And,
yes.
and develop that Salacia ability. But you know, he's who he is, and you know, you can't change other people. Actually, I mean, you know, they have to be open to it. And yes, as he's died, that's released your sexiness, that liminal nature, where you were focused so much on monitoring him and working to fit in with him so that he did understand you as best he could. But now you're freed from that demand, from that responsibility, from that sort of thing. Karmic, totally karmic, of course. I'm going to think with your father, and that's Salacia in the fourth house. I mean, there's a karmic nature to the fourth house. So, yeah. Beautiful. So we're not actually looking at your chart here, are we? This is Brooke. Somehow we've... I want to go back this way. So this is your chart. But we were just talking about the fourth house. So that's all good. But I was looking at aspects to see... you don't have actually... Oh, yes, you do. No, that's Venus, isn't it? So it's an inconjunct with Venus, but your Venus is conjunct Saturn. So that's where that's coming. That's sort of fated, and this is fourth house. So it's all totally fated and beautiful. Just think of it like that. It's totally beautiful.
Okay, I shall.
Yeah. And again, you've got an opposition to Orcus. So this is, again, generational and so on. You've got Mars conjunct Orcus. So this is all playing into that sort of difficult work that you're doing. Orcus does give you the perseverance to do the difficult work. Mars conjunct Orcus, you will be doing work. And so, and Orcus is the camel that crosses the desert. This is the Sabian symbol, setting off across a desert, camel on a big trek. And the camel has everything the camel needs. The camel has all the food, all the water, everything. The camel is self-sufficient for that big work. And so, that's that, and transmuting shadow into light, taking those blocks and so on in your father, but also in other people probably, and in yourself, and transmuting that into light, which is energy, which is actually something that can be used in your life. So it's a beautiful thing. Lovely, Diane. I'm gonna
thank you.
Yeah, lovely working with you. Thank you for putting yourself forward and for sharing so beautifully. Brooke, are you with us? You have to come off mute and so on. I'm having a feeling you're not, because otherwise you'd be here. So look, that's beautiful, because that was the only one we had two, and we have to rush on. Fifth house. Salacia in the fifth house, we are romantics at heart, and we have an easy sense of humor that helps us get through difficult times. With this placement, we value intimate relationships, and we are able to bring true love into our lives if we are rigorous with our relationship karma. Yet at the unconscious level, we might be hesitant to take the risks involved in expanding our lives. And as a result, we might have a poor sense of timing, always a little late to the table. We could have the timing together, but undermine ourselves by drowning our sorrows in alcohol or being lazy with our relationship karma, making true love elusive. Like American professional golfer Tiger Woods, who has a controversial private life. He's widely regarded as one of the greatest golfers of all time. However, he crashed his car amid reports of extramarital affairs. Then he was arrested for driving under the influence of alcohol or drugs. He was found asleep in his car, which was stationary in the traffic lane with its engine running. As we develop a more spiritual approach, we can embrace the playfulness and joy of this house to bring something new into the world. We learn to take the leaps of faith required in each moment to enable our creative evolution. And at the spiritually evolved level, we can base our evolution on higher love. We have a genuine love of life and humanity, together with an idealism which gives us popular appeal and the ability to playfully achieve our greatest potential. Like American astrologer, mythologist, educator, and artist Kelly Hunter, whose studies in depth psychology, cosmology, holistic healing, unified field physics, and spirituality have enriched her teaching and her personal consultation work. She is a pioneer researcher into the meaning of our new dwarf planets. She also enjoys the creative process as a dramatist, poet, and visual artist, and this led her to publish her Planetary Gods and Goddesses coloring book. Okay, Jessica Day. Jessica, are you with us? You have to come off mute and say you're with us, otherwise we won't know. And you might be saying that, but be on mute. But I'm getting the feeling that you're not with us.
Jessica, but Brooke from 4th house is here, but he cannot, he doesn't know how to open the microphone.
So Brooke
Yes.
doesn't have a microphone. All right, and Jessica, are you here?
No, I don't think Jessica is here.
Look, okay, in that case, I'm going to go back to Brooke, but she doesn't have a microphone. Brooke, do you want to just type in the chat whether you related to that 4th house interpretation, and then we'll come back to you and your chart when you've typed that into the chat, and we'll just go on in the meantime. Yeah, because it might take you some time to type that in. You can type that in, and then we'll look.
It's open. The microphone is open now.
Oh, it's open.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we've got you now.
Oh,
Brilliant.
good.
There
Okay.
So just jump in and tell us, well done on getting on in and the microphone on. Tell us what are you relating to any of that 4th house interpretation? So I've just gone with the 5th.
Actually, not a lot. The close family relationships that it begins with.
Mm-hmm.
I had a little sort of internal reaction to that. I mean, I am in touch with all my family, and we play the British role of communication together. But there's only so far I can communicate, and they're, to me, afraid of the spiritual places to go to.
Yes. Yes.
So I have created my own community, mostly of friends.
Yes.
And I live in America. You know, I've got, as my partner says, as far away from England as I can, to an English-speaking country.
Yes.
And I certainly did not relate to the bit about the playing up sexual in privacy.
No.
No, so definitely not.
Good. Good. I think yes. No, go on. I don't want to interrupt you. Yeah, go on.
Well, I do very much have my own spiritual life, and I use everything in my environment to grow that. And I really perceive things from a from a bigger perspective. And I mean, as you can see, I have a lot of planets in the sort of 12th house, 11th and 12th house.
So huge, totally.
So
Yeah. And the first, thankfully, it's all good too.
I can see behind a lot of things. And with all the Virgo in there, I can be rather abrupt for a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
So I have very much my own world that I share with people who understand it. But I have that. I know from the British upbringing how to just put myself out of the picture when people who cannot relate on that deeper level are intimidated by it, really.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It certainly does. And what I would point to in terms of what you've just said is, firstly, same as the last person, where the bumps were to develop the spiritual approach. I think that family that you couldn't relate to was to help you find a spiritual approach, that you're now creating your sacred space where you can gather your spiritual sort of group of people. Gathering that group of people is Haumea. But I think a lot of those sort of bumps, a lot of that sort of push to sort of develop that is coming from the T-square. Eris, Venus, T-square Salacia. Eris opposite Venus, Venus conjunct the ascendant. And Eris in the 7th, opposite this Venus in the 1st, is going to, you've learned to pull your head in when you need to, and speak your truth, it sounds like, when you need to. And beautiful, and that's the big lesson with that T-square. You can tune into the people. You've learned how to do that. You can express yourself. You can connect with people. Venus conjunct your ascendant there. And opposite Eris, you've got deep truths and you can speak them, and sometimes they'll come through just without you sort of being diplomatic in the about it, probably when you're younger. And that's the reactions you're talking about from people, and you've learned from that to sort of pull your head in when you need to. Eris is the warrior sister of Mars in myth, and she's female power in the new consciousness, and so she has the power to shine the light that's necessary with that opposition, but that's going to get, people don't want to see the light, and they get they block it and they get defensive and they say you're wrong. So yeah, is that sort of making sense to you in terms of
yes, totally. And I do feel I'm also a bridge between the old world and the new world. And the English old world. My parents are very Victorian.
Right.
People call me new agey. I don't think I'm new agey at all. I think I just hold more truth. To me, truth of how, definitely, obviously how I see it, but more truth than the new agey stuff, personally.
Yeah, totally. I think that T-square is all about truth. Absolutely. Yeah. What's truth for you? What's true for you? Which is also connected to the universal truth. So it's not just, totally. Beautiful book.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Lovely. I'm glad you got the you found the volume button or whatever it was.
Thank you, me too. Thank you, Alan.
That's all good. So Jessica's not here in the 5th. So we're into the 6th here. Beautiful. So with Salacia in the 6th house, we have the power to foresee opportunities in our daily routine, to evaluate them and find the appropriate time to embrace them. With this placement, we have a self-protective shield and can weather the physical and psychic storms in our lives. However, at the unconscious level, we have to be careful of illness brought on by overload or of turning to alcohol to handle any overload that we feel. This level, we might not take care of our daily hygiene needs, and this neglect could make us sick. Similarly, we might not look after our intimate relationships, and so reap the karmic results of that in our daily routine. We might find ourselves working with sex or using it as a way to get through each day, like American exotic dancer Candy Barr, who was sexually abused as a child by a neighbor and her babysitter. She ran away from home and became a prostitute in her early teens. Then she became one of the first pornographic superstars, starring in her first film, Smart Alec, at 16. She was also one of the most famous and highly paid strippers, as well as a playmate to gangster Mickey Cohen. She later emerged as a serious poet with her book, A Gentle Mind Confused. So she did grow spiritually. As we develop a more spiritual approach, we can work through the projections that we can feel from others and learn what is true for us. At this level, we can take the leaps of faith that enable us to provide a unique service to our community. And at the spiritually evolved level, we will have a psychic sensitivity which opens us to higher love consciousness. Our work is likely to be popular and appealing, and we may have a personal interface with the supernatural. Like Indian guru Bhagwan Sri Rajneesh, known for the spiritual impact of his spellbinding lectures. Called the sex guru because of his popular talks about tantric sex, his ashram became known for the open sexual relationships of his followers during celebrations. His commune in Oregon became a real-life soap opera of hedonism and murder plots, with reports that he advocated free love for himself and his disciples. Nevertheless, his disciples loved his eclectic philosophy, much of which was similar to that of U.G. Krishnamurti. Jane. Do we have Jane here? Jane may be in Europe, and it's kind of late over there, so...
No, I'm here. Hello, Alan.
Oh, you are here. Lovely. Where are you? Are you in England?
I am not. I'm in Baltimore, Maryland.
Oh, beautiful. Good on you, Jane.
Yeah.
All right. So we're finding Salacia here in your sixth, conjunct Mars and the North Node, it's looking like.
Right.
No,
Yeah.
stellium. How are you relating to any of that sixth house interpretation?
Well, it's all connected to a sextile to Venus and
Yeah.
Saturn there as well. So definitely strong passions have been part of my life. I don't know about the prostitution. I have never never gone that far, no. But definitely passion has been a part of my life for sure. Yeah. And I'm much better when I have a focus, when I can push that energy in a certain direction.
Right.
So
Right. Yeah. Yes, very strong, as you point out, conjunction there. So Salacia Mars I talked about, but then of course the sextile to Venus, and we're talking about Salacia being the higher octave of Venus and Mars combined. So yeah, wonderful. When you I can imagine when you find the opportunity to work in a process, to get involved in something, I think you're able to bring a sort of a real energy, and I can see how that would really sort of become a kind of an exciting, creative, inspiring work that you're doing once you get that Mars activated. I'm thinking, to speak back to me. Is that
right? When it's harnessed, yeah.
Yes, when it's harnessed.
It's got a direction. Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. And so, what are we saying? Square to Eris for that Mars, just to see how it's working. Square to Mercury, is that? No. What are we looking at? That's square to Juno, actually, there, isn't it? So that square to Eris, I think, is the key into when it's harnessed. When it's harnessed, I love that. Yes, in the sense of Eris, I think, is harnessing your Mars, and it's this Eris Salacia square, the conjuncture Mars, Salacia conjuncture Mars, that's putting that sort of spin on it. It's a harness, and a wonderful, wonderful way to look at it, because Eris is this sort of truth-telling sort of connection with spirit guides, sort of wisdom, and Salacia's got that process-oriented thing. Conjunct Mars, so Mars want to do something, but it's everything's always in process, and there are times for doing something and times for not doing actually things, because it's better just to let it be. And so imagine that square to your Mars there is sort of harnessing that Mars. I think that's how it is. And it's T square to this AUKUS, and so you've got an ability to actually harness it and to transmute shadow into light in terms of any of those activities you're undertaking, or potentially even battles. I'm not sure if you get into battle. I mean, you maybe don't. You're maybe too sensitive to that, I think, for that.
No, I tend to avoid confrontation unless I really have a strong belief in it. And then Mama Bear comes out.
Mama Bear comes out, and you've got a real strength, I'm sure, in that situation. But yes, you don't use it unless it's you need to, unless it's the right time, and so on and so on. And that's all that T square. And you do have an ability, when Mama Bear does come out, to actually do a lot of beautiful work in terms of lifting, of transmuting shadow into light, and helping people more onto sort of into that diverse.
That's beautiful.
Space.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I do encourage you. It's not bad, any of that. It's all very good, but it's people have to be open to it, and whatever. It has to be harnessed in the right way. So that's it. Oh, lovely, Jane. I'm going to have to run on.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks so much, Alan. Appreciate it.
Just lovely working with you, and thanks for presenting
you
it,
too.
being here. It's so good. Look, I don't know how have we come to our ending point that we should be at in terms of. I'm asking Monica.
Yes, you can go a little more if you want, so maybe we can go like a little faster.
Yes,
some people it's already leaving, but if you can finish the house, it will be nice.
Yes, we'll go through the house interpretations. There are a few more charts, but we'll have to jump over the rest of the charts, team. I had to go with the people who came in early first. All right, so here we go. With Salacia in the 7th house, come to the university, just join the community program. We do Zooms, you can put your chart forward there, and we go through everyone there. So with Salacia in the 7th house, intimate relationships are central to us, and at the highest level, we're able to bring true love into our lives. With this placement, we have an animal magnetism and are adept at sending sexual signals in our one-to-one relationships. But we may also choose to remain chaste and not to send those signals. At the unconscious level, however, we might be relationship phobic, actively avoiding them or putting up false fronts to protect ourselves from them. Or we could be into socially unacceptable sexual activity and use cunning and adaptability to shield ourselves from any consequences. At this level, we might also adopt a strategy of hiding to avoid commitment or confrontation. As we develop a more spiritual approach, we can develop an easy sense of humor in our relationships that helps us get through the difficult times. This level, we have a love of life, and this enables us to remove the barriers to happiness in our relationships so we can all achieve our greatest potential. Like American actor, drag queen, and television personality, Raoul Paul, who had an awkward youth working as a go-go dancer and experimenting with drugs. He ended up homeless and broke. Then, after a period of personal and spiritual overhaul, he emerged with a new sense of identity and comfortable with himself, saying, "I'm black, I'm gay, and I'm a man." He went on to become the most commercially successful drag queen in the United States, receiving 12 Primetime Emmy Awards for his work on Raoul Paul's Drag Race. When we reach the spiritually evolved level, we can bring true love into our lives and develop a psychic connection with all our one-to-one relationships, so we understand them both in their depths and in the play of each moment. Like British astrologer and editor Deborah Holding, who is a consultant and writer specializing in horary and traditional astrology. She gives psychic demonstrations and has a background in mediumship, which involves the cooperative communication with the spirit of one or more personalities in the spirit world. Shalini, we would love to talk about your chart, but we don't have the time, I'm sorry. 8th house. With Salacia in the 8th house, we have the power to foresee opportunities, evaluate them, and find the appropriate time to embrace them. We are sexual beings, and we understand the give and take of love that energizes any relationship. With this placement, we could also be drawn to psychic phenomena such as hypnosis, telepathy, near-death experiences, synchronicity, or apparition experiences. At the unconscious level, however, we may have a crudely expressed sexual intent and engage in socially unacceptable, perhaps even illicit, sexual activity. And at this level, we may feel that we have to sell out to get ahead, and we may be prepared to do anything to win the money or fame we desire. Like US actor and comedian Bill Crosby, who has the public appeal of this placement, but who used his wholesome public image to drug and rape young women who came to him for mentorship. He was eventually found guilty of 3 counts of aggravated indecent assault, sentenced to prison, and classified as a sexually violent predator. As we develop a more spiritual approach, we can find a sensitivity which can open us to psychic perceptions. At this level, we learn to take the leaps of faith required for our soul to grow, trusting that everything unfolds perfectly for our growth. Like Britain's Got Talent winner Susan Boyle, who sprang to worldwide fame with her appearance on the show. She later said, "I have a very close relationship with God. He's almost like a second father, and I felt like he was guiding me at that time." Salacia in the 8th. Then at the spiritually evolved level, we can center our relationship in true love and find a divine contact that strengthens us and helps us to achieve our greatest potential. At this level, our psychic sensitivity opens us to phenomena such as telepathy. And we have a deep contact with the spirit world and with life after death. Like Swiss psychiatrist and author Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, who was an advocate for spiritual guides in the afterlife, and who also researched the phenomenon of near-death experience. She found that these experiences may encompass a detachment from the body and feelings of levitation, total serenity, security, warmth, and joy. They may also include the experience of absolute dissolution, a review of major life events, the presence of a light, and seeing dead relatives. It is notable that these descriptions are similar to some transcendental and religious beliefs about an afterlife. Stacey, we'd love to hear about your 8th house, Salacia, but we can't at this stage, I'm sorry. 9th house. With Salacia in the 9th house, we have an easy sense of humour and wit that helps us get through the difficult times. With this placement, we might use our intelligence and natural cunning to protect ourselves against storms and trials, and we might create stream of consciousness or emotionally charged writing of some form. At the unconscious level, however, we might be more concerned with outer expressions of the inner worth rather than in nurturing that inner worth. And we could be into big dreams and have visions of being important, so we might have an overinflated view of our worth. As we develop a more spiritual approach, everything that we touch takes on a distinct spiritual sheen, and we may experience a spiritual awakening. This level, like the fortune tellers of old, Salacia gives us the power to foresee opportunities, evaluate them, and find the appropriate time to embrace them. like Stevie Nicks, who together with her partner and former high school classmate transformed the struggling blues group Fleetwood Mac into one of the most successful bands in pop history. 3 years after they joined the group, it was the winner of the Billboard Group of the Year award. Wearing chiffon in 7-inch high-heeled platform boots, Stevie created her own gypsy-style look, swept the ratings, and made 50 million album sales. Salacia in the ninth, and created her own gypsy-style look. She had that liminal connection with people. And at the spiritually evolved level, we can develop a genuine love of life and humanity. This level, we can find a way for our ideas to appeal to everyone, and our work will be popular even when it is confrontational. Like French-American astrologer, composer, and musician Dane Rudger, who incorporated Jungian psychology into traditional astrology to create humanistic astrology and modern-day psychological astrology. His work addressed the broader human experience and sought to connect astrology with philosophical and metaphysical concepts. He also sought to bridge the gap between astrology and art, emphasizing symbolism and exploring the potential for astrology as a form of self-expression and spiritual growth. With an appreciation for beautiful, intelligent women, he was married 5 times. Ryan, we'd love to hear, but we can't, I'm sorry. 10th house. Salacia in the 10th house, we are gracious and sociable, and we have the capacity to bring something new into the world. We have the power to foresee opportunities in our social interactions, to evaluate them, and find the appropriate time to embrace them. At the unconscious level, we might be more concerned with outer expressions of worth, and as a result, be driven by these in our evaluation of our social and professional opportunities. And we could be prepared to do anything to win the social position we desire. At this level, our intimate relationships will be transactional, and we could be into socially unacceptable sexual activity. Like American stand-up comedian, actor, and filmmaker Chris Rock, who gained prominence with his edgy humor and quick wit, tackling subjects such as race relations, human sexuality, through observational humor. He is frequently listed as one of the top 5 comedians. However, when he filed for divorce from his wife after 18 years of marriage, he admitted to infidelity as well as struggling with a pornography addiction. Salacia in the 10th. As we develop a more spiritual approach, we are able to take the leaps of faith required in our social role in the full knowledge that profound transformation is inevitable. This level, we're able to handle deeply difficult and troubling personal or social matters and may experience a spiritual awakening. Like American actress and singer-songwriter Miley Cyrus, who identifies as pansexual and has dated men and women. Her chameleon-like musical style is a wonderful example of Salacia. Her sexually explicit twerking at 20 on the MTV Video Music Awards brought her 26 million YouTube views. She has said that the treatment of gay people in her church led her to a spiritual awakening. At the spiritually evolved level, we can bring higher love consciousness to all our professional relationships, and our work will have a universal appeal. This level, we're able to achieve our greatest potential and assist others to do the same. Like the Roman Catholic nun and winner of the Nobel Peace Prize, Mother Teresa, who devoted her life to the poor and sick through her service of universal love. She struggled with her religious beliefs, and towards the end, she expressed grave doubts about God's existence. Yet at the time of her death, the missionaries of charity that she founded had over 4,000 sisters operating 610 missions in 123 countries, including hospices, soup kitchens, orphanages, and schools. I love consciousness in the 10th house. Shari, I encourage you to study your Salacia, and to embrace Salacia in the 10th. 11th house. With Salacia in the 11th house, we will have many intimate friendships with people whom we feel a like-minded kinship, and we're able to bring true love into our lives. With this placement, we are idealistic and have a strong desire to achieve our greatest potential. And if we are dedicated and sensitive to our process, we will likely have our wishes fulfilled. At the unconscious level, however, we may have an extreme erotic fascination or interest and engage in crudely expressed sexual activity, which works against finding a true loving relationship. And we may not be in the right group or have the right position in the group to achieve our best or to find that special person. Or we could use our position to take advantage of others, like former New York Governor Andrew Cuomo, who resigned after the Attorney General found that he sexually harassed 11 women during his time in office, with behaviour included unwanted groping, kissing, and sexual comments. One of the women wrote, "I never thought the government wanted to have sex with me. It wasn't about sex. It was about power. He wanted me to know that I was powerless." As we develop a more spiritual approach, the hopefulness of this house and Salacia's love of life combine to make us sensitive to the opportunities around us. This level, we're able to remove the barriers to happiness in all areas of our lives, including our intimate relationships. Like American comedian and talk show host Ellen DeGeneres, who has stated that she sees God everywhere. She starred in the hit TV sitcom Ellen, in which she came out as a lesbian. The affection and openness of her impassioned love affair made her an inspiring ambassador for gay pride. She's won 30 Emmy Awards and 20 People's Choice Awards, more than any other person. She says, "Heaven or hell is what you create right this minute where you are. You have a choice to live in joy or not." So that's here in the 11th. Finally, at the spiritually evolved level, we can center in the higher love and may develop a psychic connection to the collective consciousness and to the supernatural. This level, our work will be popular, even when it confronts the status quo, because people resonate with our commitment. With Salacia in the 12th house, we have a genuine love of life and humanity and an intuitive psychic connection in our intimate relationships. With this placement, we can tune in to the zeitgeist, see the unfolding opportunities, and take the leaps of faith required to enable them. At the unconscious level, however, we might not believe in ourselves, and we might engage in superficial or secret relationships. We may hide to avoid commitment or confrontation. Or we might not be in control of our relationships and might feel trapped. Or we could be into socially unacceptable, maybe even illicit sexual activity. And this could lead us into a twilight world of crime. This level, we may also have a tendency to project our issues onto others or to fall victim to others' projections. And we need to be careful not to turn to alcohol to handle the overload we sometimes experience. In the extreme, like American actress Linda Lovelace, famous for the porno film Deep Throat, her husband forced her at gunpoint to act in the film. The movie earned $600 million, of which she received nothing. She was married to him for 2 years, during which time she was hypnotized, raped, sold, threatened, beaten, prostituted in a master-slave relationship. However, she went on to author 2 autobiographies, Ordeal and Out of Bondage. As we develop a more spiritual approach, we can work with our own and others' projections and become our authentic selves. This authenticity enables loving relationships and helps us to weather the physical and psychic storms in our lives. This level, our work is likely to be popular and appealing. Then at the spiritually evolved level, we have a psychic connection to the collective unconscious, and we're able to draw on both traditional wisdom and modern experience in our stimulation of the zeitgeist. This level, we can foster the spiritual connections between people, and our work will likely have a wide appeal. Like American astrologer Chris Brennan, whose study has focused on cross-cultural comparisons between the astrological traditions. He has a special interest in ancient astrology, specializing in Greco-Roman tradition, known as Hellenistic astrology. But he also incorporates modern astrological elements, such as the outer planets. Since 2012, he has recorded a weekly podcast called The Astrology Podcast, which has become an industry mainstay. And that has brought us through to the end of our talk for today. Slightly late, but I think it was valuable to, I'm sure it was valuable to have all of those charts discussed with the people who are here. Boom, I think probably, could we take one or two questions just to sort of, we need people to interact around out, Monica, do you think, or no?
Okay, one or two questions because we are already past the time, but wait, you have, people.
All right, and here I can just also promote my book again. Here we are, New Stars from New Era, Consciousness Workbook. It goes through each of the, you know what it is. I do encourage you. Any of you who happen to be in Melbourne, Australia, at the beginning of June, we're going to be at the Mind, Body, Spirit Festival with a stall, and we'll have some cheap copies there. So I do. And the other thing I should talk about is the Dwarf Planet University, which I have mentioned a lot. So just search for the Dwarf Planet University or go to dwarfplanet.university. You can find out what the course is there. Sign up for the newsletter is the best way to start. The email newsletter I put out every couple of weeks or every week. And that kind of, you learn about the planets through that. And I offer sort of cheaper deals and so on. So that's a good way to sort of get to know it. I don't think we've got any questions, have we, Monica? No.
No, I think it's just many comments that everybody liked your webinar very much. I think you gave us great information. As you said, there is your book, so we can look for more information there. So in the name of NCGR, we thank you very much, Alan, for giving us this great webinar and to take some people charts. And we thank everybody to be here with us. And I also would like to remind everybody that the recording of the webinar will be available at the NCGR YouTube channel for 6 months, starting next week. So I will send you the link and you can distribute it to the people, or NCGR will also distribute it. So thank you very much, Alan.
It's my pleasure. Thank you so much for running it. It's so beautiful. Thanks everyone for being here.
Thank you, Alan.
Thank you.